Alright, in this video we're going to go over the disassembly of the Ruger Model 9622M rifle. It's a lever action chambered in .22 Winchester Magnum rimfire, and it's based off the semi-auto 1022 Magnum action and overall design. You can see a lot of similarities just by looking at it. The receiver, the stock, the barrel band, and the rotary magazine are all very similar, so the disassembly for this rifle will be very close to the disassembly for the 1022 series rifles. Now, the first thing we do in handling a firearm is we check to make sure it's unloaded. So go ahead and push in on the crosspin safety, make sure the weapon's on safe. We're going to depress this little button here and pull the magazine out the bottom of the rifle. We can see the magazine's empty. We'll go ahead and set it aside. Now we're going to go ahead and pull down on the lever. That'll retract the bolt so we can look into the receiver and see that there's no cartridge in the chamber. The weapon's unloaded. We can begin disassembling. Now, one thing to note before you start taking anything apart is this little safety cross pin here actually sticks out farther than the inlet cut on the stock. So when we take this entire trigger assembly out the top of the stock, you don't want to have that pin sticking out so that it scratches up or chips your stock. So we're going to set the safety about halfway between safe and fire so that both sides of the safety will fit and clear through the cut in the stock. Now, we're going to go ahead and take our flathead screwdriver and we're going to go ahead and loosen the main action screw underneath the rifle in front of the magazine well, and we're going to go ahead and loosen the screw on the barrel band. I've already done both of those to save time, so they're now loose enough to take apart by hand. Thought I'd save time doing this. We'll go ahead and take off the screw here on the front barrel band, set the screw aside, and then very carefully we're going to take the barrel band off the front of the rifle. Be ginger with it so that you don't end up scratching either the stock or the finish on your barrel and front sight. Just very carefully slide it off and set that aside too. And now we can take the entire barrel action of the rifle and lift it out the top of the stock. And like I said, this pin here will slide directly through and you'll just pull everything right out of the stock. So we'll go ahead and take the stock and set it aside for the moment. Now we've just got the barrel action of the rifle. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the trigger and lever action out of the receiver of the rifle. To do that, we're going to remove two pins. There's a pin here at the back and a larger pin here towards the safety. We're going to go ahead and take our little pin here from before, go ahead and push down on those, pull both the pins out without dropping anything onto the table, and set the pins aside. Now we can carefully lower the lever and the trigger guard assembly from the receiver of the rifle. So go ahead and pull down a little bit so that the back end clears out of the receiver, pull backwards, and then drop. You can see that the bolt is actually attached by another cross pin to the rest of the trigger assembly. We'll go ahead and set the rest of the barrel action of the rifle to the side for the moment. Now, to remove the bolt from the lever action, we're going to take this little cross pin here and we're going to again push that out with another little pin. By removing this pin from the side of the rifle there, we can now take the bolt off of the lever action and trigger assembly. And that is just about all you're going to want to do to disassemble the Ruger 9622M rifle. You can clean up a little bit here in the action of the rifle. You may have a little bit of gunpowder down there. As you can see, there's a little bit in mine. It's not quite clean. You don't want to go ahead and mess with the trigger assembly or anything like that unless you're very confident in what you're doing. Something interesting to note is because the lever action cycles right through the main part of the assembly here, the hammer is actually on the right hand side of the receiver assembly. So go ahead and take the safety off, drop the hammer, and you can see it's only located on one side there. Also, something to think about is blah 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 blah. That's all worthless information.